Hello, this is Dustin Wong from DustinWongPhotos.com. In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to stitch multiple images using Photoshop to create a panorama. Alright, what we have here is we have 5 images that I took on a tripod, and I used manual mode to make sure that all of these were shot at the same settings to make sure that they're all consistent. And I tried to make an overlap, so if you can see where these features are here, I can show you where those are here. So there is enough overlap for the program to recognize that these are the same pixels. And so when you first start doing this, I recommend overdoing the overlap. And as you get more refined, you can reduce it and reduce it and reduce it. A general guideline is 20%. So I say 20% is the minimum overlap, and you can start with 50% overlap if you just want to try this out. That's a good way to do it. One of the things you want to do in Lightroom is you don't want to do too much adjustment here. And that is because if you start doing too many adjustments, you can create some inconsistencies across the images, and then you have a harder time dealing with the changes later. So I'm going to leave most of these adjustments alone. One thing that I do want to do is I want to check remove chromatic aberration here. I want to leave this unchecked because Photoshop will handle this lens correction. I'm going to avoid doing any of these changes here, but one thing that is really important is to make sure that the white balance is consistent across all your images. So one of the things you want to do is make sure that all of these are the same white balance. Okay, so now that that's all set, I'm gonna do Edit, Merge to Panorama in Photoshop. This takes a while to load, but you will see that it pretty much does it for you. When you get into Photoshop, it shows you this dialog box, and you can see your images here that are going to be blended together. We're going to check Blend Images Together, and we're going to do Vignette Removal. I like to leave this one unchecked, and Auto is great. So hit OK, and this takes a while to run. Alright, so Photoshop has done its thing, and you can see that there are little stitch lines down here. This is where Photoshop took a certain part of each image and merged them together. And it's a very complex thing that it does for you, which is really nice because it seems to do a really good job. So the first thing I'm going to do here is merge all these down. I hit Command E or Control E if you're on a PC. So now I have one layer here, and we got to clean this up. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to increase the canvas size here. Just get some extra space to play with. We're going to go 60 and 40. So now we have a lot of space here. The main tools you're going to use are in here. Edit, Free Transform is good, and anything in Transform. Distort is one that I'm going to use here, and it allows you to bend the lines in. It allows you to bend the edges in. So this can be really useful to straighten your sides out. Now, I'm going to apply that. One thing that I like to use is these rulers. So I just grab the arrow button, and you can pull this ruler out of the side. And this allows you to get some guide while you're cropping. Sorry, while you're using Transform. And let's go back to Distort. So this allows you to, oh, you can even snap it in. I'm going to leave it like that. You can already tell that this one could use a little bit more. So one of the things that I like about this is that I have this nice canyon that comes down here, and the detail here is nice too, and I want I want to save this. So if I cropped it right here, I'd lose this rock and I'd lose these nice ridges here. And I'd definitely lose this nice foreground element that I captured in the corner here. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to use the warp tool, which allows me to push and pull things so that I can get them all in like so. And then I'm going to pull the middle down so I have all of that center part. Now, this is where you sort of go back and forth and mess with things until you get it just right. This sky has interesting missing information here, but I'm going to show you a nice trick to get rid of that. So we're going to leave that. Okay. And this is when I would use perhaps the scale tool to either compress or open up the scene. This is more of a preference, very dependent on the focal length that was used. I think that looks good. So now we're going to crop the image. And a couple things about cropping in Photoshop. Be aware that there is this option here called delete crop pixels. And if this is checked, when you crop, it will trim everything off that is outside of your crop line and discard it, delete it. I don't particularly like to use that because I like to change my mind. This will behave much more how Lightroom crops, which I think is really nice. The downside is that it keeps your file size a little bigger. It takes a little longer, but I think the ability to go back and change your crop is so valuable. Another thing that you can do here is in this toolbox, you can select Enable Crop Shield. And what this does is it allows you to black out the outside so you can really see what's in. I use 90% here. I'm unconstrained here. You can set your ratio. Let's say you wanted to hit 3:1 on this. You could put that in and constrain it. But for now, we're just going to use the unconstrained crop and bring this in. I like those rulers, these horizontal lines, because they can snap. Okay, I think that looks good. Now we have this, pull these away just so I can check the edges here. So we have something missing here and here and here. Those bottom two, I'm going to use the warp tool to get in to fill the frame here. But this top one, I'm going to use a great feature that Photoshop has to fill in missing information. So I select the lasso tool, I just generously select it, and I right click, fill, content aware, 100%. And what this is doing is it's going to guess what those pixels should be based on the surrounding information. And as you can see, that's pretty good. So Photoshop has now guessed what that sky should be. This works well with loosely defined things such as clouds or water. If you have distinct features like flowers or mountain ridges, it's a little tricky, but most of the time you do have sky, so you can take advantage of this. Content aware. One thing I noticed here is this horizon does drop off here. And I'm not totally sure if this horizon is actually completely flat or not. But if you wanted to do that, sometimes in landscapes you don't have a perfectly straight horizon, but you kind of want it to look straight just so that the eye has a level field. So one way that I can fix that is to just pull this up, something like that. And dragging it up into the ruler gets rid of them. So there you have it. That is how you do a quick panoramic stitch using multiple images in Photoshop. Thank you for watching, and remember to subscribe and check out the links below in the description.